High school student Rakuro Hizutome thrives on playing awful, bug-ridden games. Known as Sunraku, he takes on the highly acclaimed virtual reality game Shangri-La Frontier as a break from his usual fare. Stripped of his shorts and bird mask, Sunraku's unconventional strategies quickly turn heads. Dive into his thrilling adventure. Sunraku easily defeats Dragonfly and shows off his unbeatable quick-draw fist. Despite this, Dragonfly is eager to continue fighting, and a crowd gathers as she mimics his yo-yo glitch. Having learned from their past battles, Sunraku gets distracted by his thoughts for a moment, gets hit, and decided to unveil his pal bunker technique next. Dragonfly then takes advantage of a new glitch, stacking two flying smashes at the same time. He takes the hit to study its effects, and the crowd begins theorizing. Since Dragonfly discovered the glitch, she gets to name it as Sunraku reveals his doppelganger glitch, creating a clone of himself. I don't know how these guys haven't been banned from the game yet. Meanwhile, Katsuo levels up and has dinner before returning to SLF. Sunraku visits the skill garden managed by one of Emil's sisters, which offers a better selection than those in town. Elka, Emil's older sister, excels at combining skills and prepares a special recipe for Sunraku. While waiting, he checks his stats and regrets not increasing his VIT. As he drinks the potion, he gains 6 new skills and levels up. Elka then offers skill grimoires at a discount, and despite Emil warning him about her greed, Sunraku takes out his money and loses every cent. Bro literally got robbed in broad daylight from a freaking bunny. Without money to buy the waist armor he wanted, Sunraku heads to a meeting where Pencilgon enthusiastically discusses the strategy for the upcoming fight against Weathermon. She says her clan, Ashurakai, knows how to spawn the unique boss and must be taken care of, so Katsuo suggests Pencilgon could get them to stand down, but she explains they oppose defeating the boss for XP and have become careless due to updates making PKing rewarding. She reveals their hideout and decides to eliminate them, and 2 weeks later, a major SLF summer update is coming. When it launches, Sunraku's group will take on Weathermon. Pencilgon buys out resurrection items in 3 cities, causing complaints from other clans while their leaders meet. The new update introduces a new area, scenario, and changes to the Endure skill. Mia, wanting a new weapon, here screams and grabs her bow despite the town's safety. The screams are from Saiger Zero, frantic about sending a mail bird to Sunraku on the update day. She sends it after 2 weeks of preparation, only for it to return immediately with a message from her sister about raiding Ashurakai's base, whose location was leaked. Sunraku, enjoying tea with Emil, gets tracked down by a male bird and remembers the toxic eagle. Emil asserts her dominance, but the bird delivers Saiger Zero's message. Mistaking it for a duel challenge, Sunraku plans to decline due to not having enough time until another male bird arrives. Emil gets defensive again, but the letter retracts the invite due to the raid, so he just decides to dismiss it before Vash appears, urging him to defeat Weathermon, and Emil gives him a good luck necklace from her dad. At night, Pencilgon is supposed to meet them at Ashurakai's hideout, but Saiger Zero arrives, attacking. Their base is raided by multiple guilds, so the leader retreats, realizing they can't enter the hidden garden as it's being fought over. In the garden, Sunraku, energized by drinks, wears new waist armor, while Pencilgon, having betrayed her guild, invites the others to the party. They access the battlefield, encountering Weathermon by a cherry tree and grave. Weathermon attacks with a wind slash, which Sunraku dodges, boosting his melee damage and parrying. This group realizes Weathermon is a special condition type boss, requiring them to survive before Sunraku lands a few hits, but none are effective. A critical attack kills him, but this is anime, so as Katsuo throws a resurrection item on him, we go to a flashback. A while ago, Pencilgon explained the winning conditions and distributed resurrection items, each costing 4 million, allowing them 27 revives. Their plan involves Sunraku dodge tanking Weathermon and getting revived when he dies, with other players playing off-tank until he recovers. They execute this strategy after Sunraku gets cut in half and revives, with Katsuo taking over and starting to attack. Even though he's less skilled at dodging, he holds the boss off until Sunraku returns. Pencilgon notes that his 2-minute survival is impressive, justifying her investment in revival items as Sunraku switches to marsh daggers since his new weapons have lost durability. Weathermon unleashes Thunderclap, an instant-kill lightning barrage, and Sunraku manages to dodge with his upgraded skate foot, but is flattened by Nimbus Fist. Katsuo revives him only to be cut in half and revived by Pencilgon. This cycle continues as Pencilgon works her scales, reaching the 10-minute mark with half the revival items left, so they literally have to be tortured by Shredder from Ninja Turtles until the time runs out. In the second phase, Weathermon summons his horse, Kirin. Katsuo must hold it down for 10 minutes using a whip to trap it in a bucking animation, so Pencilgon borrows the reward scales from the Golden Scales NPC-run trading company, sacrificing high-end items worth 30 million for 300 additional stat points. She boosts Sanraku's stamina and luck, allowing him to disarm Weathermon, while Katsuo, struggling despite his stat boost, straps himself to Kirin's head with his whips. As the third phase begins, Weathermon prepares a deadly shriek, and Pencilgon, knowing this from Sanraku, uses holy water from the Saint of SLF, burning Weathermon from the inside. The Saint's holy water thrown on Weathermon nullifies his death shriek as he starts screaming in pain before Katsuo is thrown off as the horse transforms into a bipedal form exclusive to the third phase. Sanraku sends Pencilgon to help Katsuo while he keeps Weathermon busy for 10 minutes until his body crumbles. She warns him not to be reckless, but he says he plans to beat Weathermon rather than let him crumble. He uses his spiked battle helm and moon blades. The helmet allows him to parry with his head while attacking with his hands, and he executes Moon's reflection to attack from behind, followed by an assassin's pierce on Weathermon's exposed back before finishing with a drill pierce, bringing Weathermon to his knees. Pencilgon and Katsuo deal with the mech's lasers and missiles. Katsuo gets killed and revived by Pencilgon, who gives him a drug called Evil Force, boosting his stats close to level 99 but with severe side effects, including permanent level loss. She buffs herself using the reward scales, while Katsuo unleashes his Flame Crimson Fist buff. They manage to stagger the mech but can't stab through it, and Pencilgon loses an arm. Sanraku's HP drop activates Climax Boost, paired with Hunger Wolf, enhancing his damage before Weathermon notices the pendant from Emil around Sanraku's neck, recognizing him as a child of the second plan as they both get ready to face each other head-on. In Sanraku's room, Emil worries about Sanraku since he hasn't come back and remarks that he must still be fighting. Meanwhile, Sanraku comes up with a self-revival plan by throwing a revival orb before getting slashed, letting it fall back onto him. It works, but the attack ruins his gear because it could pierce armor. Weathermon, seeing him revive, vows not to fall until his ultimate strike is beaten. He attacks rapidly, and Sanraku realizes the moves from the Satan Taisei, giving him 30 seconds before the final blow, Tensei. He studies the techniques and timings, realizing dodging is a memory game and gets used to it but still gets killed, reviving himself the same way. With 5 revival items left, he has 3 minutes to survive before they're all defeated. Katsuo and Pencilgon, fighting Kirin, refocus on it after being hit with missiles, so she sacrifices herself to get her arm fixed and find Kirin's weak point. This is literally just every Elden Ring boss. They take it down using their last resource, while Sanraku uses his final revival item, puts on his bird helmet, and combines his moon blades into Twin Moon. He parries Weathermon's attack but miscalculates his HP for climax boost, so Pencilgon distracts Weathermon, allowing Sanraku to stab himself, activating Endure, leaving him with only 1 HP remaining. He rushes in and defeats Weathermon with his final attack, destroying his dagger. Weathermon slowly acknowledges that Sanraku has broken through his ultimate strike and looks up in peace. Sanraku brushes off his comment as a dumb joke, but Weathermon remembers Setsuna saying the same thing before picking up his sword. Sanraku gets ready for a 4th round, but Weathermon compliments them and slowly heads to Setsuna's grave. They watch as he collapses and says he'll be with Setsuna soon. Weathermon passes away under a cherry tree, which withers and returns the area to normal. Setsuna's spirit appears and thanks them for fulfilling her wish. She explains she was created from the original Setsuna's wish to free her love, and now that her purpose is complete, she must disappear. She tells them to look for Bahamut for the truth about the world, and they decide to find out who he is on their own. Setsuna thanks Pencilgon before vanishing as the quest ends, with Pencilgon denying she was crying while the others joke she found a soul. Before they can distribute the loot, a global announcement says they defeated the first unique monster, progressing the world's story. This gets the Library Guild moving. Saiger 100 feels used by Pencilgon but is curious about Sanraku, while Saiger 0 focuses on Pencilgon and Sanraku's relationship before helping them against the remaining Ashurakai members. Pencilgon criticizes them for how weak they are, and Saiger 0 offers them a way out. They refuse and are killed before Pencilgon challenges Saiger 0 to kill her, leading to a fierce battle where Saiger 0 finally manages to kill her. Pencilgon loses all her loot to Saiger Zero, who quickly collects it to finalize the transfer. Sanraku and Katsu realize awkwardly that Pencilgon was their socially skilled member until Saiger Zero asks about their relationship with her. Sanraku clarifies they were just gaming friends as the friend warp timer expires, promising to repay the debt sometime. Left alone, he takes the creepy sword Pencilgon used and heads back to 3rd Rema, where Emil tearfully welcomes him. He returns the pendant she loaned him and says it helped him to win the battle. At Utopia headquarters, the chief is informed Weathermon was beaten, and the company starts panicking since Weathermon wasn't supposed to be defeated yet. And the chief, out of stomach medicine, has to deal with the fallout between the executive producer and the world creative administrator. Players got too freaking overpowered and screwed the system up. They admit they did not expect anyone to beat Weathermon for at least 10 years, but they have to admit it's a valid victory since no glitch or bug was exploited. The two argue over game balance versus story importance and start squabbling with each other before the chief intervenes but gets gut-shot and nearly collapses. The next morning, Sanraku visits Vash, who asks about his experience fighting Weathermon. Sanraku admits it was the hardest thing he ever did, but Weathermon praised him, so Vash offers to teach him the world's truth, but requires a fetch quest for 3 items from the Lightless Barrens, a distant location. The fight with Weathermon boosted Sanraku's level from 50 to 78, granting him new skills and loot, including a lore tome, a skill book with Weathermon skills needing divinity equipment, and an inventory key bracelet for secure item storage with goods inside. Pencilgon visits Setsuna's grave with flowers that bloom briefly unless stored in an inventory, where they bloom forever. She sees them as a perfect representation of their relationship and decides to uncover the world's truth for Setsuna's sake instead of quitting after beating Weathermon. In the real world, Katsu, aka K, is watching a VTuber and praising how well made SLF is. He admits he originally started playing to kill time, but plans to take a break for a tournament in a week. However, he receives a message from Sanraku about checking out what's inside Inventoria and decides to delay his practice. Back in the game, they meet in a pub to discuss using the gear, and Pencilgon notes they need a non-standard ether reactor to use it, which she's never heard of despite being a veteran player. Katsu reveals he has a broken one from defeating Kirin, which can only be fixed by a specialized blacksmith, so Sanraku asks to borrow it, and Katsu agrees if he explains how to unlock the unique scenario. Sanraku shares his experience with Lycagon, but admits it's unverified, so Katsu gives up the item and Pencilgon asks for her reward scales back. She explains how she uses them to launder items and avoid losing them when PK'd or killed by another player, and proposes they form a clan to hunt unique monsters to pay off her 500 million debt. They decide Pencilgon will lead the clan named Wolfgang and split up. Katsu goes to regain levels, Pencilgon to return the scales, and Sanraku decides to fix the reactor. He learns that Vash is missing and decides to cultivate Bylak into an ancient craftsman to fix the reactor. Bylak explains that to become an ancient craftsman, she needs a legacy weapon from the Age of Divinity and a magic operations unit. Though these are hard to find, Sanraku has Weathermon's sword, which counts as a legacy weapon. The weapon is in good enough shape for her to strip down and study, but he needs permission from his guild since they share the inventory space. They also need the magic operations unit from the ruins of past glories, which is far away but is conveniently near the Lightless Barrens, where he needs items for Vash, so it works out. Bylak decides to accompany him, though she can't transform into a human and will hide as a fur coat with Emil. Traveling to the 4th city, the girls tell Sanraku about the Canyon of Ancient Souls, a haunted battlefield with undead and curses. Without items to prevent the hexed status, the HP and MP get cut. However, Lycagon's mark protects Sanraku, creating an aura that nullifies weaker curses and scares off zombie wyverns. They walk towards the area boss but encounter the rare Dullahan General, so Sanraku and Bylak fight it, taking advantage of its AI and using their skills to defeat it. They obtain the Dullahan General's Decapitator, which Bylak believes she can restore since she's level 98, stronger than Sanraku, though he has more combat experience. They continue deeper into the Canyon of Ancient Souls, and Sanraku considers climbing the cliffs, but Bylak and Emil warn him about the crystal scorpions at the top, which attack him in swarms and are too strong for even Bylak to defeat. Spotting a scorpion, he plans to challenge them later, and after taking care of other monsters scared by his markings, they reach the area boss arena, covered in darkness. Inside, they find the boss, the humming lich, so Sanraku tries to attack, but Bylak informs him he needs a holy weapon to deal damage. The boss intensifies the miasma, causing minor damage to Sanraku but not cursing him, so Bylak asks for time to prepare. Sanraku equips Emil and bribes her with carrots to use magic against the boss. The boss multiplies into 7 copies, each with a different weapon, as Bylak uses holy water and a whetstone to give Dullahan General's Decapitator a temporary holy buff, but says it will only last 8 uses. Sanraku discovers the clones share an HP pool and devises a strategy. He stacks buffs and has Emil round them up for him to use. With 2 attacks left, he tosses Emil to distract the boss, then stabs it with glowing pierce before Bylak finishes it with her hammer. Emil falls on Sanraku, nearly killing him, and Bylak picks up the broken blade, planning to repair it later. Sanraku gets a shaman item drop and heads to 8th Hold, where Bylak and Emil take a break, but he ignores his promise to Emil, buys more carrots, and returns to fight the crystal scorpions. This guy is probably the sweatiest gamer this game has ever seen. Sanraku decides to climb the canyon using jumping buffs, reaching a crystalline area called Crystal Nest Cliff. There, a level 100 plus crystal scorpion ambushes him. As warned, they attack in swarms, and he dies, respawning in Rabbituza next to Emil. She lectures him until he bribes her with carrots and determinedly returns to the canyon to avoid dying empty-handed. He finds a mining spot but hits a stone, attracting all the crystal scorpions, so he uses all his buffs and starts mining, managing to get some ore before dying again. Planning a nap, his gamer mind devises a strategy for more materials, and he antagonizes the scorpions, using 6-boat leap to break their shells before hiding in Inventoria. When he exits, the scorpions are gone, leaving loot behind, so he repeats this process until nearly out of MP. Realizing he needs a stinger, he buffs himself and attacks the scorpion's stinger, but it's too tough, so he lures them into attacking each other, then uses glowing pierce to break the stinger, but is overwhelmed before retrieving it. Back in Rabbituza, he curses his luck and takes his materials to Bylak, who praises him for the effort. Sanraku shows his loot to Bylak to soothe his ego and asks what she can do with it, so she says the materials from the monsters and ore can be refined into weapons, but the gems should be processed into accessories by a jeweler. Since there aren't any jewelers in their town, she calls in Aramis, the vice captain of the Musketeers, who has connections. Bylak calls Aramis an idiot, considering he can't take a hint that she's not interested in him romantically. Isn't that just every guy ever? She asks him to get Sanraku the best accessories possible given his achievements, but Aramis doubts Sanraku's worthiness and tests him by attempting to stab him, which Sanraku narrowly dodges and starts beating him up. Aramis steals a kiss from Bylak and escapes via teleportation before she can attack him with his hammer. He's got negative riz, but at least he shoots a shot. Sanraku asks about their relationship and Bylak explains she once made a weapon for him. Emil adds that Aramis is high-ranked in the kingdom of Ketchi, Katsuria, and in terms of raw fighting power, even Bylak admits he's stronger than her. Sanraku decides to take a nap in real life to re-energize for an evening run, but decides to ignore the messages from his guild members. He logs back in later, ready to go, only to see Aramis being stepped on by Bylak, and the sick freak is loving it. Aramis explained he returned after delivering the jewels to help raise Bylak to become an ancient craftsman, and Sanraku wonders how having someone stronger than Bylak would make things easier, but Bylak points out that Aramis would follow them anyway, since the king of Ketchi values Sanraku for his accomplishments. They head to 8th Hold, with Sanraku wearing his full-body ghost cloak since he has to carry Bylak and Aramis, while Emil drinks mana potions to avoid joining the mess. As they're going, they encounter a pink-haired girl who speaks in an old man's voice, introducing himself as Professor, the leader of the library clan. Professor knows who Sanraku is and wants to speak with him, holding his hand out and sending him a friend request. He invites Sanraku to explore the unknown with him and find the truth of the world, while Lycagon awaits a rematch. Thanks for watching Sanraku's wild journey in Shangri-La Frontier along with his trusty group of friends. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more epic adventures. See you in the next video.